Imagine two people. Both are 35 years old. Both grew up in the same neighborhood, went to similar schools, and got similar jobs. They even earn almost the same salary. But here's where things get strange. 10 years later, one of them is still working the same job, maybe got a small raise, still living month to month. And the other one? She's working fewer hours than ever, but somehow has more money coming in than she's ever had in her life. Same starting point. Completely different financial realities. So what happened? What did one person understand that the other didn't? Here's the honest answer. It wasn't luck. It wasn't a massive inheritance. And it definitely wasn't working harder. It was something much simpler, and once you understand it, you'll never think about money the same way again. Most of us were taught the same basic idea about money growing up. Work hard, earn money, spend less than you earn, and save the rest. And honestly, that's not terrible advice. But it's incomplete. And that incompleteness is costing people enormously. Here's the common belief most people operate on. To earn more money, you need to work more hours. Want a raise? Work harder. Want more income? Get a second job. Want financial freedom? Well, you'll probably have to hustle for decades first. This thinking is so deeply baked into us that most people never question it. But think about it for a second. If trading time for money is the only way to build wealth, then there's a hard ceiling on what you can ever earn. You only have 24 hours in a day. You can't work 30 hours. You can't clone yourself. At some point, you run out of time. And this is exactly where most people get stuck, not because they're lazy, not because they're not trying hard enough, but because they're playing a game with a built-in limit. They're running on a treadmill, moving fast, burning energy, but not actually going anywhere new. Wealthy people don't escape this trap by working more hours. They escape it by doing something different entirely. Let's talk about two completely different ways to earn money. They have simple names, but most people misunderstand how powerful the difference really is. The first is active income. This is the money you earn directly from your time. You show up, you work, you get paid. Stop showing up, stop getting paid. Simple as that. Most people live entirely in this world, and there's nothing wrong with it, but it means your earning power is capped by your hours. The second type is passive income. Now, before you roll your eyes because you've heard this term thrown around a million times, let me give you a really concrete, simple way to think about it. Passive income is when money keeps coming in even when you're not actively working for it. But here's the part people miss. Passive income doesn't mean easy income or free income. Almost every form of passive income requires something upfront, either time, money, or effort. What's different is that the work you do once can keep paying you again and again. Think of it like building a vending machine. You spend time setting it up, filling it, putting it in a good location. And then, once it's there, people drop in coins and take things out, and you make money while you sleep, while you eat dinner, while you're on holiday. You did the work once. Now the machine does the work for you. That's the core idea. Build systems or assets that earn money without needing your constant presence. Now let's look at what these actually look like in the real world. The most well-known example is investments. When you invest money into something, let's say a simple index fund, your money buys a small ownership stake in hundreds of companies. Those companies grow. They generate profits. And a share of those profits comes back to you as returns. You're not working. The money is working. Here's where it gets even more interesting. There's a concept called compound growth, and it's honestly one of the most powerful ideas in all of finance. Imagine you put £1,000 into an investment that grows at 8% a year. After 1 year, you have £1,080. The next year, that £1,080 grows by 8%, so now you've got £1,166. And on, each year growing on top of the previous growth. Not just your original money earning returns, but your returns earning returns. Over 30 years, that £1,000 becomes about £10,000. You didn't add a single penny. The money just grew on its own because you left it alone. Another form is rental income. If you own a property and rent it out, someone is paying you every month to live there. Your initial work was buying the property. After that, The asset generates income for you. Real estate investors often talk about this as having a money tree, something you plant once that keeps bearing fruit. Then there's digital assets, things like writing a book, creating an online course, building a YouTube channel, or licensing something you created. You do the work once. Maybe it takes months, but once it exists, it can make money for years without you needing to redo it. A course you built 5 years ago can still sell today. A book you wrote a decade ago can still earn royalties. The work was finite. The income can be ongoing. Business ownership is another angle. When wealthy people talk about owning a business, they often mean owning something that runs without them, not being a one-person freelancer who can't take a holiday without losing income. The goal is to build systems, hire people, create processes, so that the business generates income whether you're there or not. Here's the psychological part that I find really fascinating. Most people, when they hear about passive income or investing, think, that's great for rich people, but I don't have enough money to invest. I can barely save anything each month. And this feeling is understandable, but it's also the exact thinking that keeps people stuck. There's a concept in psychology called the scarcity mindset. When people feel like they don't have enough, whether it's money, time, or resources, their brain narrows its focus. It becomes almost impossible to think long-term. You're so focused on surviving this month that you can't think about building wealth over the next decade. Wealthy people, interestingly, don't just happen to have an abundance mindset because they're wealthy. Many of them developed it before they had money, precisely by understanding this one shift. Instead of asking, how do I earn more money this week? They started asking, how do I build something that earns money for me over time? That question changes everything. It reorients your decisions. You stop seeing every pound you earn as something to spend right now and start seeing it as a seed, something you can plant, something that can grow. Here's another insight. Wealthy people treat time and money very differently than most. The average person trades time for money. But wealthy people think about it in reverse. They use money to buy back time. Once your assets are generating income, you don't need to work as many hours. And those freed up hours, they can be used to build more assets. It becomes a cycle, a wealth loop, rather than a hamster wheel. The famous investor Warren Buffett once described his wealth as a snowball rolling down a very long hill. The snow is the assets and money. The hill is time. Start early enough. Keep rolling. And the snowball just gets bigger and bigger on its own, almost effortlessly. But here's what that metaphor also tells us. The hill has to be long enough. This isn't a get-rich-quick scheme. This is a get-rich-eventually-if-you-start-now kind of deal. The biggest mistake people make isn't investing wrong, it's waiting too long to start. So what do you actually do with all of this? Let's make it concrete. First, start separating your income mentally into 2 buckets: active income and future passive income. Every time you earn money, ask yourself, how much of this can I send toward building something that earns on its own? You don't need a lot to start. Even putting 50 pounds or 100 pounds a month into a simple index fund, something that mirrors the performance of the entire stock market, is planting seeds. Not exciting, not glamorous, but genuinely powerful over time. Second, think about what you already know or already have that could become an asset. Do you have a skill that could be turned into a course? Knowledge that could be turned into content? A spare room that could be rented? Not everything will work for everyone, but the question itself is worth sitting with. Third, and this is the most important thing, understand that the goal isn't to stop working. It's to stop being dependent on your work as your only source of income. Wealthy people often still work. Many of them love what they do. The difference is they work by choice, not because they'll run out of money if they don't. That's the real freedom. Not lying on a beach doing nothing, but waking up knowing that your financial survival doesn't hinge entirely on whether you show up for 8 hours today. It's the difference between owning your time and renting it out. Go back to those 2 people we started with. Same neighborhood, same school, same starting salary. The difference wasn't intelligence or privilege or luck in any meaningful sense. One of them spent a decade selling hours. The other spent a decade building assets. And by the end, one had more money and more time while the other was still trading, both just to stay afloat. The hard truth is that no one teaches us this stuff in school. Nobody sits you down at 18 and explains the difference between earning a salary and building a money-generating asset. Most of us just figure it out eventually, or we don't. But now you know the concept. You understand the difference. And that's actually the hardest part, not the investing itself, not the strategy, but shifting the way you think about what money is and how it works. Money isn't just something you earn and spend. It's something that, if you treat it right, can earn for you. The question worth asking yourself tonight is this: what are you building, a bigger paycheck or a system that pays you? Think about it.